Hi friends, Renee Keys here with Carolina Creative. I'm a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator and here with Christmas card making ideas for you. Today I'm doing a mashup again. I'm using several of the new products and then I went searching through my stash for some more unusual shapes, and so I'm going to show you what else I'm using. But I'm starting with the Traditions of Christmas using stamps and some of the dies out of this. And then some of the paper that comes with this set as well. I'm going to cut this up and I'll show you how I'm using that. The other thing I'm using that's current is the Forever Plaid 3D. I love this embossing folder and I already ran it through with a piece of real red cardstock. So this gives me the texture and the depth as a base layer on my card base. Even though my card base is also going to be real red, I think it really does pop and define that. The other set that I'm working with today is I'm using some stamps and papers and things out of the Golden Greenery. This is from, was this last year? It might have been last year. I love the set because it had bells and it has great greenery and great dies. So I'm using a couple things out of there too. So let me show you what I'm working with. The other unusual item that I went looking for shapes, and this came out of a set called Spruced Up. And I was looking for something, like I said, unusual, and this had ornament shapes. So I am going to use the ornament shapes and cut out my paper. So I'm going to get these ready to die cut. I've got my cut and emboss machine right here ready. Whoa, my camera's about to fall. I've got everything right here ready to go and my camera turned loose. All right, there we go, clicked into place. So now you can see my work area. So let me position these dies, and it's just the standard 2 cutting plates. And I'm going to crank this right through. There we go. And now I'm going to slide this out of my way and reveal, ta-da, I have cut out, yeah, I forgot that does that. It makes these interesting outlines too, and I may have a use for that later. But right now, what I want are my cool shapes. Oh, I might be able to use that. I'll have to look at this. There's a couple different things I can do here. So let's move the paper out of the way and move these out of my way. Now, like I had mentioned, I have a red card base, and I'm going to put what I just embossed on here, the plaid. What I wanted to do, and I did another pass through my die cutting machine using Pool Party because it's in the paper. So I've made my banner for my sentiment out of Pool Party. And then out of the greenery set, I have these interesting leaves. So let me get a little help here punching this out. I think this is a really fun shape. And when you mix some of the pine boughs and things with it, it just adds a lot. So I've got a couple extra pieces in there that will just come right out with my thumbnail. All right, so now look at how that's going to pop on the red background. Instead of stamping or die cutting, just die cutting, this came out of the DSP, the designer paper that came with this set. So I want to use 2 of these, and I'm probably going to add a little pink berry here to go with these ornaments. But what I wanted to do was just kind of hang these ornaments in, in the greenery. And then so now I think I actually want these up higher. I'm playing with how this is going to look. I'm going to put the ornaments in there and my sentiment at the bottom. So let me do my stamping. I'm going to stamp inside the card, inside my card base, and stamp my sentiment for the front, and then I'll figure out how to assemble here. I do have a couple different bows. Because they are ornaments, I decided to make the hangers look a little bit different. I just need to decide, yeah, I think the bigger one on there and the little one behind that. All right, so we'll play with that in just a minute. So that was left over from die cutting. I wanted to stamp in Real Red because that should pop on this pool party. So I've got Real Red ink, and the sentiment is going to say, sending love and joy. I think that's probably one of my favorite sentiments this year, is the sending love and joy. And this already has the shape of this banner, which makes it so easy to use. Just kind of line up from left to right, top to bottom, and give it a 1, 2, 3 press. And you are done. Love it. And I'll figure out how to use that next. So the other sentiment I pulled from an old set is just one that says, thinking of you at Christmas. This came out of Itty Bitty Christmas. This was several years ago, and I loved that set. So I have held on to it because it comes in handy. Sometimes you need, little sentiments on the front or something in a corner, and it's just perfect. And then this is a really sweet sentiment. So to match my bow on the front, I'm just going to add a few more on the inside here. There we go. Give it a little depth. And then a little one in the background. And I'm done. I think that is all the stamping that I'm going to do. That is my insert for inside the card. You've seen me do this numerous times. I just love how the bows add that little bit of greenery on the inside. Quite often it's because I'm matching something on the outside, on the front side. Now, I just noticed that this did not die cut very well. I've got a couple jagged edges here, so I'm just going to round this off and fussy cut to make it look, yeah, that's a whole lot better. Because it's going to be exposed, I didn't want that jagged edge there. So let me set that aside while I work on the inside. I'm going to glue this in with my dots of liquid glue. Oh, I missed a spot there. Just enough to hold it. I don't want it oozing out anywhere, so I'm being a little bit cautious. And here we go. 1, 2, 3. Now, I'm going to go ahead and start working from the bottom up. So I want to go ahead and attach and add here this embossed layer first, so that I've got a flat working surface and not something moving around. And for this, because of the dimension on here, I am going to use my Stampin' Seal. And I felt it roll right back after I pulled it. I'm sure some of you have seen that and felt that happen too. I'm going to put a little dab in the middle just to keep it in place. All right, now I did square this up so that it's straight. I've seen a lot of people lately, they're turning it, and I think that's kind of cool. But for this, because I had, busy paper, I just decided let's keep it uniform and let's keep it on square so that it's not too distracting to the eye. The jaunty angle I love, but you have to be mixing in with the right elements, otherwise it gets a little busy. Well, I left one more punch out in there. Okay, so I've got my pool party background, which blends in a little bit with the background of the ornaments, and that's going to go about there. I almost need to build this with my sentiment on here first, and then decide where the ornaments are going to go, because I really don't want to cover up my sentiment. And so I think this one needs to go a little higher. I don't want them too close, but I don't want that revealed either, the tip here. So I'm just playing with how I'm going to lay this out. And I think I decided that the green bow is going to go here and the red bow is going to go there. And at some point in all this, because of the pink, I may be adding this little sprig. I'll wait to see if I really want that. Now, I think my sentiment will go on with dimensionals, but do I do that first or last? I think I'm gonna do it first and work from the bottom up. I think that's right now is the most logical way to build this card. So I'm going to give this a little bit of support on the back And I've talked about it before, how there are creases and bends in here. And I'm trying to give that a little bit of support too, so that it won't tear. There's the voice of experience, because I have definitely torn just one or two of these by accident and in handling it. So I have taken to giving it more support so that that can't happen. So now I may do this at just a slight angle and move this up. Or does this go down and this go up? Maybe that's the way. Okay, so I got an idea here. Now, I'm going to start with the pool party, and I could use liquid glue, but because of the uneven surface, I'm now thinking that the best way to do this is going to be with small sections of Stampin' Seal. And I can see it. It's going to be hard for you to see it on camera, but it's shiny where I'm putting just, you know, one of these little strips. The Stampin' Seal does come off in sections. It will separate as you are applying it. So I'm going to spread this out. And because the stem and most of this bottom part is actually going to be behind the ornament, it's going to be held in place. So I'm not too worried about that. It's these outer edges. I want to make sure I have enough adhesive on those. I can always add some liquid glue, you know, if I see something's popping up. Yeah, I'm going to have to move everything. And of course, one little leaf decided to stick down. So here we go. I had that on an angle, like that. And then I think I'm going to go ahead and put this sprig on, this pine bough, and tuck this behind. Yeah, that bow doesn't go there. So that goes like that. Yep, I had that up and over, and then this on an angle. And what I can easily do is trim that off, which is another reason for not gluing it, because that gives me some room to play with it. Okay. Yep, and that's what I'm thinking. I'm going to spread those out. I want this just a little shorter. So I'm going to glue the pine bough down. Same thing, I'm going to use my Stampin' Seal, and I'm going to go ahead and get this ornament ready. I thought about popping this off with dimensionals too, but I thought better of it because it's just designer paper, and I'm afraid that that might not be sturdy enough. So I wanted to go ahead and hang this ornament, and I'll just put it on flat. Okay. And then I'm going to do the same thing with my oblong ornament here, and try to make that just a smidge shorter. I might have put this too high. So let's drop that down so that there's some variation in heights here. Okay, I'm going to snip off that little stem. Don't need it peeking out. Yep, I'm liking how this is coming together. Now, I'm going to add a couple bows, and I pulled out one of the, you could go solid red. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to do this. I'm just putting that at the top, and then this is, I think, Mossy Meadow. I looked in my little cup here that has random bows left over from different projects, and I found these, and I went, okay, these go with my colors, so let's just use these. So the last step, I'm thinking, is where can I put a little Wink of Stella? There's a lot of gold foil here, so that doesn't need much. There's gold foil in the pine bough too. So I'm going to add it to my pretty little leaves here in the pool party and just give them a little shimmer. Now, and I've done this recently, just on the big thick lines, I'm adding this little bit of bling so that it will sparkle. And when somebody holds this up, hopefully they will see it and they go, oh, look at that. It'll give it the effect of it all having it, even though I didn't attempt to do all those tiny little pieces. Now, I think this is busy enough. I'm not going to add bling to this. I'm going to leave this just like it is. Sending love and joy, thinking of you at Christmas. My inspiration, I did this the other day with just an oval. And I like it. And then I thought, well, I could get really creative with some different shapes. And so that was the direction I took today, was go through your stash and look and see what else you might have. But this was using Traditions of Christmas stamps, the label die here, and then the paper, and that's all it was. So thanks for joining me today. I appreciate you. If you like the products and the projects you're seeing here, you can find me at Carolina Creative or hashtag Carolina Creative. I'm also on the Stampin' Up! Network. It's Renee Keese at StampinUp.net. Thanks. Stay tuned for the next video.